I made a video a long time ago basically explaining how the video is whether the Civil War was about slavery or not. Clearly it was. Clearly it was. Those who try to deny that that was the elephant in the room are disingenuous. That being said, the argument that I made was that nullification was um, nonsensical. That it wasn't valid. It wasn't a valid excuse to disobey the federal government. It wasn't. And I went into more detail on it as an earlier video. I should probably post it in the section below. And I stand by that. The doctrine of nullification, which I believe the author of that was John C. Calhoun, or he was the champion of that political ideology at the time, or political belief at the time. The entire concept of a federal court system or a Congress that oversees the entire body of the Union is irrelevant with nullification. It completely obsolesces the federal court system. It almost obsolesces Congress. That being said, as far as secession goes, it's irrefutable. It's irrefutable that the 10th Amendment gives states the right to secede from the Union. The purpose of the 10th Amendment is to prevent the type of gridlock that we see in the United States today. We have different political views constantly trying to force themselves on the entire continent, Alaska and Hawaii included. And it doesn't work. So the 10th Amendment was designed to, if it's not explicitly in the Constitution, it's an issue that belongs to the states or to the people, even more local than the states. Abortion, whatever, things like that, they're not, if they're not in there, education, all those things, they're not in the Constitution. And the first major socialist government in America in the 1930s under FDR, that's when they really started to use the Commerce Clause to justify basically the federal government doing whatever the hell it wanted to do. But if it's not explicitly in the Constitution, it's a state's right. It's clearly in there. And, if we abided by that, blue states would have more autonomy to do blue state stuff. Red states would have more autonomy to do red state stuff. And who knows, maybe there'd be other political parties that would be able to be dominant in particular states, like the Libertarian Party, which is the party I now belong to. For those who consider themselves patriots, who want to criticize, and I'm speaking to conservatives mainly here, people love to, if you're going to mock the left for not being able to read the Second Amendment, which clearly gives individual citizens the right to bear arms, okay, not the fucking National Guard. Don't do that. If you're an Abraham Lincoln loving conservative, whatever, don't do that if you can't read the 10th Amendment. Read the fucking 10th Amendment and tell me that a state doesn't have the right to secede. First off, clearly secession is not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution. Okay, the founders did not agree to it. It was not in the compact, the contract. And so it wasn't in there, which means it was left to the states. On top of that, not only is it not in there, but the Constitution clearly never would have been ratified if states didn't have the right to leave. The states never would have agreed to that contract if states didn't have the right to leave if they were unhappy. Like, that's just a fact. That being said, it would be appropriate to return to some form of federalism in modern times. There's some things do change in modern constitutional governance, and you know, I believe that everyone should have the right to bear arms, but you know, you got states like Hawaii that doesn't want people carrying firearms in public. That's a reasonable debate to have. But you know what? Do I disagree with that? Yeah. Would I support them banning individual citizens the right to own arms in their homes? Hell no. But it's like, okay, well, I don't want to fucking live in Hawaii, so it's a debate worth having. Another example, whatever, abortion rights or whatever, there wouldn't have to have this gridlock with everything if we just gave states more autonomy. The federal government controls fucking everything, like everything. Like, if we return to a more federalist model, first off, we'd be able to trade more with each other. Commerce would loosen up, and there wouldn't be so much damn government. Like, the left would benefit, the right would benefit, like, for a multitude of reasons that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But so I'm approaching this 10th Amendment thing from two different angles. One, founders' intention. Clearly they never intended for, if a state joins, you're locked into this forever. And second of all, the written language of the Constitution, clearly, it's not explicitly in the Constitution. That's why the 10th Amendment was put in there. If it's not in here, if we didn't agree to it, then then the states have a right to it. So that's my 2 cents for the day. Like, and I know the majority of Americans will disagree with me on this, but I mean, they're wrong. It's in plain writing, and like, states clearly have a right to secede. They clearly have a right to secede. It's in the 10th Amendment. Citizens clearly have a right to bear arms. To keep and bear arms. That is in the Constitution. To keep and bear arms. So, like, it's in there in writing. You could argue about it. You could say maybe we need to modify it or come to some consensus and change things. You could argue that. But, like, you can't throw out the entire political system, which has given us incredible stability, the likes of which most of the world envies. Like, because you don't like a few things. Like, you know, that's the extreme leftist view, is like they want to upend everything and fucking, like, you can't, dude. I'm not looking at the Constitution like it's the fucking Bible or something, that it's like the inherent word of God. It's like, but you're a fucking lunatic if you don't understand the significance. If you don't understand the significance of how that document arranges power and balances power and makes it so everybody has an interest in honoring the document. Like, everybody has a self-interest in honoring that document. Like, Congress, like, states, citizens, like, everybody has a vested interest in that document to some degree or other, to solidify their own position or protect their own liberties or whatever it is. That's my 2 cents. 10th Amendment gives states the right to secede. Nullification is also a stupid doctrine.